City takes the baton this Wednesday. Your morning begins with some biblical love in Wednesday service. Then it's a lesson on the one-drop beat. Give me little one drop. Grab your Valentine. Bailey's has something sweet in store. And we'll wrap things up with the lyrical legend, Barrington Levy. Why Not Wednesdays, powered by Flow. You've never seen a sunrise quite like this.
Jamaica, make we do the right thing. Make we live good today for a better tomorrow. Talk it out. Don't fight it out. The time by the Ministry of National Security is
6:30.
Well, thank you for staying with us. You are watching another Lead Story Prime review. Last evening on Lead Story Prime, a panel of technical experts sat down with George Davis. And so the story of the Jamaican pothole was dissected. The experts detailed some of the critical issues that face the construction of Jamaica's roads. Well, let's hear what they had to say.
Issue of Jamaica's roads and why they break so easily.
As in why they break so easily?
Yes. Why is it that after a road rehabilitation, new carpet lane, a shower rain or a man washes his face at a spot, it cracks, it breaks easily, pothole within weeks of a new surface being laid?
That particular problem, George, have to do with the quality of construction. That, for the most part, in my estimation, is going unsupervised, by sufficient without technical oversight. And so you have work being done, but it's not necessarily using the right material and the right equipment. We see several examples. There was one in Portland where the carpet literally unraveled weeks after it was laid. There was another case in Westmoreland as well. Just the lack of technical oversight. That's the problem. Lack of technical oversight.
What's the argument to be made about the quality of material that we use? Is it that we are putting inferior material in a position to withstand the traffic and the pressure from the traffic that, of course, attends to vehicles traveling on a road surface?
Well, I would think the quality of the material is important, but also very importantly, George, is the way in which it is applied. There are specifications to the road design in terms of the quality material to be used, the amount of material, and the way it is to be applied. So it's kind of difficult sometimes just to single out and say the material isn't at the right quality. It could have to do with the way how it is laid, the amount that is laid,
the equipment that is used,
the equipment that is used, etc. So there are several factors, and there are ways to test the materials before they are actually used. And so I think we have to consider all factors before singling out that one aspect, because we may end up blaming the material when that is not the real issue.
Exactly. It's just a prod to get an overview as to what you think the issue is. And I'll ask you the same question, David. Overall, what do you think is the problem we are grappling with here as we go to the break?
Well, I think we are grappling with a problem in terms of, yes, lack of maintenance, and the lack of maintenance, because really, in terms of the road construction, the design is good, right? The design engineers cannot be at fault. The construction aspect is generally typical across the world, but really what needs to happen now is that the quality of the material must be maintained in terms of what you put down, right? So what you put down must be maintained and it must be monitored. And that is really sometimes a part of the problem, but also because because when it comes to the point where maintenance must happen, it must happen. When it gets to a pothole, it means that you have gone far down the wicket. Distress signals have been shown long ago. And so the maintenance aspect must be carried on, and I'm suspecting that one of the big challenges with that is the budget set for it.
All over Jamaica, the calls for road repairs are loud. We've heard about Spark from the government and Reach to ease some of the burden, but will there be a continuation of the status quo, or will there be new strategies in place? We hear some more when we return from the break on Lead Story.
Join my private room. Only $1,000 for a grand time.
That I know me. We never said that. But who going to believe me?
That is correct. $4,350,000. Yes, go ahead. $4 million? I never approved that.
Yes, me I go doctor tomorrow. So me have to get the money today no longer. Then no me face that. I never make no record, I beg nobody no money.
Deepfakes are AI-generated images and videos made to look and sound like people we know and trust. They're used to spread misinformation, destroy reputations, and are used to commit fraud and scams. Don't fall victim to deepfakes. Protect yourself. For more information, visit broadcastingcommission.org or scan the QR code on screen.
Welcome back to Lead Story. I'm Nika Lewis. Well, for most Jamaicans, they only know a Jamaica with bad roads and bad road maintenance, littered with potholes. But the engineers believe that there was once better in Jamaica. And they believe that management of the roads under the Public Works Department, the precursor to the National Works Agency, the NWA, was far more efficient. In fact, they say the PWD was replaced by the National Works Agency in 2001, but let's see what they had to say.
You will be hard-pressed to find an opinion poll, especially around about election time in Jamaica, whether local elections or general elections, where the back data puts road conditions among the most serious concerns of voters going into an election. It's usually the big C's: crime, corruption, then of course the economy and other things, but roads will be way down the totem, yet people bleat about road conditions every single day. We've assembled a panel of experts here on CVM TV to talk about the state of the nation roads, why they fracture, why they break so easily, why is it that our roads in some instances seem to be made of glass, and what can be done over the medium to long term to improve the quality of the road surfaces and give taxpayers more bang for the buck. And the issue of bang for bucks will loom large over these discussions because our experts are agreed, based on what they've written and said elsewhere, that the National Works Agency is severely underfunded and doesn't have near enough to do what is required. I see Chris Burgess nodding in the distance because he has made that point forcefully. So here's the Hail Mary questions, gentlemen. I have 3 gentlemen in studio and I have 1 on Zoom. Has there ever been, I'm starting with you again, to my far left, Chris, has there ever been a golden age for road maintenance in Jamaica?
Okay, it certainly would be a little bit before my professional career, but I've come to understand from speaking to the elders in our society, or professional society, that the golden era was certainly in the PWD department days. There were issues.
PWD being Public Works Department, the forerunner to the National Works Agency.
Right, forerunner. Where several of them have made the point that even the road from Kingston to Westmoreland was well maintained. And several, notable main roads, and I think they fell apart after the PWD. I think we can all agree that what's happening now with the Works Agency in the last decade or so, it's not acceptable. The outsourcing of routine maintenance isn't working. So you ask about, was there a golden era? It was certainly, I think, in the PWD department, based on my own personal recollection and recollection of others.
Colin, do you agree with that?
I agree with that, but I want to put it a little bit of context to it as well, because I remember as a youngster growing up seeing the yellow PWD trucks with their crews frequently as an issue happened. Sometimes weren't even sure what issues were. They were out there repairing. To the point where people used to make joke that they're just patching road that don't need patch just to keep busy. But the roads were well maintained. If we put in a context, this we're talking about from in the 70s, thereabout. Certainly for me, they perhaps would have been around before. We didn't have the volume of traffic.
Nowhere near.
And issues nowhere near.
Yeah.
And yet the consistency in maintenance was much more. So as we saw in the clip earlier, with more vehicles on the road, heavier vehicles, poor driving practices, etc., then it would require an adjustment both in design and frequency of maintenance, right? So I think we have to focus on those two areas now. Climate change was also mentioned. And I've always said we've always had climate issues, but just different intensities.
But before we go into that, I just want to get a chord among the four of you, or perhaps a dissonance about the golden age. So both of you agreed the PWD era. David, what say you?
Yes, I would agree as well. I mean, I'm in full agreement. And of course, as you see there, your colleague journalists have done a very good research in indicating issues in terms of best practices. And I would go then to indicate that, of course, as the population of vehicle increase, right, and in terms
we have several 100,000 cars now, which we didn't have before,
and not specifically the cars only, but the heavy vehicles, which gives a much greater, deleterious effect on road surfaces. And so that comes back now to design. The best practices in design, I know it was mentioned about something about 6 inches, but in my own calculations, anything below 4 inches of asphalt may not work, right, based on the kind of impact that the heavy equipment will have.
The engineers were of one mind that the lack of standards for road construction and repairs have been plaguing the quality of the roads here in Jamaica, and they called for independent oversight of the country's road work.
Get the impression, I'm throwing this out now, you can respond if you want to take it first or second. I get the impression that roads in Jamaica are one, either not built or maintained according to any set quality control standard, which is why we have the problems that we do.
Hit the nail on the head. Independent oversight. So the standards and the specifications for road construction and repair are quite rigorous, and they're sufficient. David kind of alluded to it earlier. Good designs can easily be created, but what happens in the field is totally different. You know, again, if you don't have the engineer overseeing the contractor, which is the case 99.99% of the times in Jamaica,
where the engineer doesn't,
in road construction,
where there's no supervision,
no professional supervision. Independent, so not supervision by the person working in NWA, you know, because you can understand the possibilities here.
Of course,
right. Then you're going to have, you're going to get not what you expect, but you're going to get what we have, pothole-ridden roads. So, you know, I was speaking earlier about a particular road that we're working on, and because we're involved in that particular road, we called for the lab to do testing on the pavement thickness, and we found variances. It was less than it's supposed to be. Can't say that the contractor was happy, but that's my job as the independent engineer, where we're supposed to have 3 inches and 4 inches of asphalt. You know, in some instances he had 2. And so he will have to mill it and make it up. So oversight is important, independent oversight, not oversight by the agency itself. And I want to say that there are many agencies in Jamaica that practice independent oversight. JSF is one of them. You know, they have independent external engineers to ensure the quality of their projects. And this is nothing new. It's just that NWA needs to follow suit.
And David, the oversight argument is real, isn't it?
Yeah, it is real. You need to have that because it also helps to also, validate the work of the NWA as well, right? Because, I mean, they know what they require, but also when you have an independent eye, then there is less opportunity for compromise, right? And of course, we are seeing cases where, you know, roads are being put down, and for what reason, it may not be the NAA at fault, but some other thing get in between all of that. So it is important to ensure that you have somebody, right, who, you know, from time to time can come in, just like an auditor, right? You can't audit yourself. So you really want that in the mix to assist to ensure that both you can verify that the NAA is doing their job, and that also hold accountable to the contractors accountable to the work.
There's so much more to uncover about the nature of the potholes and the cost to the Jamaican people here on Lead Story right after this break.
To take the baton this Wednesday. Your morning begins with some biblical love in Wednesday service. Then it's a lesson on the one-drop beat. Give me little one drop. Grab your Valentine. Bailey's has something sweet in store. And we'll wrap things up with the lyrical legend Barrington Levy. Why Not Wednesdays, powered by Flow. You've never seen a sunrise quite like this.
We're the first in them brand when we get locked up. So yeah, cartel around gang and them are done. No, a different thing me are dealing. We represent to get a youth from a distance.
It's supposed to hard to separate Vibes Cartel from just Daddy Do It.
Them separate me real quick.
Yeah.
Them bring me down right down to Daddy level. The influencer cartel bring someone who
not
try
to debate.
Them can't be
not up for debate.
Them are drinking.
The Cut. Brought to you by Flo and Rare Nephew.
Now I'm where I wanna be.
Welcome back to Lead Story. We're uncovering the reality and cost of the Jamaican potholes, and we've been hearing more from the Lead Story Prime last evening with George Davis and a panelist of engineers who've been speaking profoundly about the standards or lack thereof for road construction in the country. And so just reminding you that lecturer in the Faculty of Engineering at the University of the West Indies, he said that there were some revolutionary ideas for road work, warranting some changes to even the material being used on the nation's roadways. So, question, would or should we really be building roads?
The gentlemen in studio are saying we ought to morph Pamela Monroe Ellis and the Auditor General's team to send them out there to stand with clipboard in hand, hard hat, to give this independent oversight, because the gentlemen in the studio are agreed that what we're seeing where the roads in Jamaica are concerned is the result of a lack of independent oversight to hold contractors to the standard expected in road construction. Are you in agreement?
Well, to some degree, because for the most part, the NAA doesn't really have the personnel or the amount of personnel. They do have the knowledge, but not have the sufficient amount of personnel. One of the main problem, though, is are we assessing these failures properly? Because when a lot of times the thing perpetuates itself at the same location. And we have a way of going back and doing the same exact thing and think that we're going to get something different. I think one of the problems is assessment of the problem. It could be the water getting below the road into the road subgrade by some capillary action or something that is not obvious to most people. Because water at the end of the day is the main problem with our roads. Whether it deteriorates the road pavement structure or it covers the surface. So this is one of the things that we have to ensure that we get the water off properly. A lot of times it's difficult to get the water off, whether there's a drain block or there wasn't sufficient drain design. But for the most part, if we ensure that the roads have proper falls and proper drainages, they will survive much longer. I'm a little hesitant to blame the asphaltic concrete thickness unless it's a major road that requires that based on the amount of.
But hold on, Doctor. Here, I don't want you to trouble. I don't want you to trouble the asphaltic thickness yet. I'm coming to that singly and immediately after this point. I just wanted to get you on the issue of oversight and its importance, because I want to follow a train and take the viewers along with me. I just want to put to bed the issue of oversight. So you're largely in agreement with what the gentlemen are saying.
Yes, oversight is very, very important. Yes. We can't do without it.
Yes. All right. Here's where I'm coming now, gentlemen. And since you started the ball rolling, Dr. Hay, let's go into it. Because what goes into literally the materials and the thickness of the material and the consideration for drainage, how is a road constructed in Jamaica in a normal place? I know that there are certain places that have certain peculiarities, certain vagaries, if you may, but in a normal place, what goes into how thick the asphalt should be, what's under the base? Talk to me about that.
Well, it's depends on the location and the type of roads. The pavement is designed to protect the existing soil, which is there. Now, the pavement structure comprises of the asphalt plus the base or sub-base. How you decide to apportion the load in each segment of that pavement structure always come back to the economics issue. Now, asphalt concrete is a very expensive part of the road structure. So we try to minimize that because our natural resources are more abundant. So we try to use a thicker base. I mean, Trinidad, for example, has asphalt lakes and, bitumen. So they can't use 6 inches and 8 inches of asphalt and even 12 inches. We can't afford that. So I'm saying there are times when we just have to use the minimum asphalt that's required for that amount of service load. For the most part, that's what we have to do from a cost perspective. But what used to happen before is that we had a standardized internal thickness that is used throughout. We have to get away from that because we have our way of calculating what is required. But sometimes what happens is that the desire to do more roads than quality roads get into play, and we have to make sure that those decisions are made by technical people and not others, in terms of what is really required. So when we have decided, okay, we want to just use the minimum asphalt, which is either 2 inches or 3 inches, depending on the amount of loads, then we can decide what thickness or what type of base material we use. I am suggesting that one of our biggest problems is that we need to use drainable base, not just get marl and throw on it, because the quality of marl is highly variable, has too much fines in it, for the most part. So we need to use crushed harrogate in our base throughout our road structure. See, we're doing it mostly on our major roads now, but we need to start using it more on the other roads, the minor roads, where we're having most of the problem and where most of Jamaica is complaining the most.
Let me catch you. So you're saying more crushed aggregate, less marl for the base and sub-base?
For the base.
For the base. Okay.
No, and they're all limestone original, but when you go to the quarry, you're just getting marl.
Yes.
But if you get the actual limestone rock and crush it to the specification that's required for your base, it allows water to drain through it. And that is a major problem. So any pressure that is built up in the base itself is dispersed. Dissipates. And that is one of the problems we have. It doesn't come up into the asphalt.
Yeah. Let me hear you on that, Chris. You wanted to weigh in.
Quality is important, and the crushed limestone that Dr. Hay is speaking about is critical for the drainage and the long-term survival of the road.
The crushed limestone and crushed aggregate are the same?
All right, George, this marl, this white dust that is sedimentary in the pothole, it is not suitable.
Yes.
It is not right. Water. It is symbolic of a lack of oversight. It have no place in the road.
Yes.
What Dr. Hay is speaking about is crushed 1.5 to 3 inch stones, limestones.
There you go.
Right? In older times there were 4 inch and 6 inch stones, ballast, as they would call it. So what we're saying is that this dust, this marl dust that some of these contractors go to their friends who own a marl quarry and they dig up and put in the back of a truck and they use to fill these holes, that's not the right way. I know engineers at NWA know it. All of us as engineers know it. It is not right. The potholes won't last. It's soft. It's plastic.
Yes.
I mean, there's a quality of the marl called plasticity.
Yes.
And we know that it's not value for money.
And we could do with value for money in this country, because as of today, we know that the roads in Jamaica have been a problem, but they've saved many lives too, because certainly potholes have rescued some of our taxi operators. The ones I've seen in places I've been, who have been skedaddling around potholes and jumping into some of them. Sometimes I don't know how women still carry children to full term in this country after taking public transportation. I've seen a few of the taxi operators in sections of the corporate area complaining, and they've said things like, oh, you know, if the road was better, it could make it easier for us to offer quality service. Perhaps not. But then it's not an excuse for us as a nation to not better our roadways, because those potholes have certainly caused quite a bit of accidents. And, you know, something I learned while I was learning how to drive is certainly sticking to your end of the road. If you are seeing a drum in front of you, a ditch, a hole, whatever you want to call it, stay in your lane. Try to navigate as best as possible, because until the fix that we really want comes, we kind of have to try to survive them until that time. So just before we go, though, a bit of breaking news for you, because the Parliament has passed a bill to allow for the establishment of Portmore as the country's 15th parish. This after a testy exchange in the House today, with the opposition accusing the government of gerrymandering. Thanks so much. That's all the time we have. But if you're joining us later on, Lead Story will pick up this story at 8 p.m. for our special Lead Story Prime with the Honorable, I'm doing the most, but with George Davis, the host who should be here, but you'll catch him later. We will be discussing the costs of state of the roads in Jamaica. But before, the best newscast in Jamaica here on CVM TV at 7.
To take the baton this Wednesday. Your morning begins with some biblical love in Wednesday service. Then it's a lesson on the one-drop beat. Give me little one drop. Grab your Valentine. Bailey's has something sweet in store. And we'll wrap things up with the lyrical legend Barrington Levy. Why Not Wednesdays, powered by Flow. You've never seen a sunrise quite like this.
We're the first in them brand when we get locked up. So yeah, cartel around gang and him a dance. No, a different thing me a deal with. We represent we get a youth from a distance.
It's supposed to hard to separate Vibes Cartel from just Daddy Do It.
Them separate me real quick.
Yeah.
Them bring me down right down to Daddy level. The influencer cartel bring someone
not
who try
to debate.
Them can't be
not up for debate.
Them are drinking.
The Cut. Brought to you by Flo and Rare Nephew.
Now I'm where I wanna be.
Do you love reggae music? Oh God, yes. If you love reggae music, come on in and say,
Lead Story Special, the story of the Jamaican pothole. See it happen right here on CVM TV.
To take the baton this Wednesday. Your morning begins with some biblical love in Wednesday service. Then it's a lesson on the one-drop beat. Give me little one drop. Grab your Valentine. Bailey's has something sweet in store. And we'll wrap things up with the lyrical legend Barrington Levy. Why Not Wednesdays, powered by Flow. You've never seen a sunrise quite like this.
You can open a Sagicor Bank savings account from anywhere. Go online and open yours today.
The time by Sagicor Bank is
7 o'clock.
CVM News at 7 Tuesday, brought to you by KFC.
Do whatever the crunch you want with KFC's popcorn chicken, now available in hot and spicy. KFC, it's finger licking good.
CVM News at 7. Transparency International says Jamaica has a corruption problem. Health job fair draws thousands, but nursing shortage remains. This while nurses go black as they demand outstanding pay. We're also previewing the second installment of Lead Story Prime, looking at the anatomy of the Jamaican pothole. In the business report, West Indies Petroleum announces strategic partnership. While in sports, Jamaica under-17 start World Cup qualifiers on a winning note. From Kingston, Jamaica, this is CVM News at 7. It's Tuesday, February 11, 2025. I'm Nika Lewis. Thanks so much for having joined us. We begin with a breaking historic move. The Jamaican Parliament has officially passed legislation to designate Portmore as the country's 15th parish. This decision comes after extensive discussions and debates within the House of Representatives, culminating in the approval of the Counties and Parishes Amendment Act. The bill was tabled by Minister of Local Government and Community Development, Desmond McKenzie, who emphasized the significance of this change for the residents of Portmore. Portmore, located in St. Catherine, has long been recognized as a bustling municipality with a growing population and urban development. However, it has not had the same administrative autonomy as other parishes in Jamaica. The newly passed law stipulates that Portmore will encompass specific areas, including Hellshire Hills and Goat Islands, while excluding certain communities such as Lakes Pen, Grange Lane, Lime Tree Grove, and Quarry Hill. These exclusions have raised concerns among some opposition members regarding potential political implications, particularly since these areas traditionally support the opposition People's National Party, the PNP. The capital of the new parish will be designated as Portmore itself, similar to how Kingston serves as the capital for Kingston. We'll, of course, have more on this major developing story. Jamaica's position on the Corruption Perception Index, CPI, has fallen, as reported by Transparency International. The CPI is an annual index that ranks countries based on perceived levels of public sector corruption, as determined by expert assessments and opinion surveys. In the latest report, Jamaica's score has dropped, indicating a growing concern regarding corruption within the region. Andre Jabinson files this report.
Jamaica continues to have a corruption problem. That's according to the latest Transparency International Corruption Perception Index, CPI. Out of 100 countries, Jamaica ranks 73, falling 4 places since 2023. However, experts want you to pay closer attention to the score, not the rank. Scores on the index range from 0 to 100. The closer a country's score is to 0 means that nation is highly corrupt. If a country gets closer to 100, it is considered very clean. Jamaica's score is 41 out of 100, the same place it has been for the past 5 years.
This is not just an effort in terms of the public perception in
the public sector as it relates to the activities, but it also looks at the laws that are passed. What laws are being passed to strengthen or to defeat corruption in this space? This year the theme is climate, environmental legislation. So when we talk about what's happening within our town and planning agencies, that is also something that we have to treat with, because there is a high level of perceived corruption when it comes to developmental permissions or permits.
The report says a CPI score of below 50 means that a country has a serious corruption problem. According to Transparency International, Jamaica is in the category of a flawed democracy.
I think we need to flip the script. If corruption means anything at all to any particular Jamaican, any entity, then the onus now has to be on us. We cannot expect that the governments are going to strengthen the anti-corruption framework without any social pressure.
The index for 2024 is focused on the devastating effect corruption has on the climate crisis. There has been suggestions that Jamaica has employed a piecemeal approach to environmental legislation. Experts have long called for a comprehensive review of existing laws to create a cohesive framework that effectively addresses the current environmental challenges. In recent months, the government has raised penalties from $50,000 to $5 million for the NRCA Act and from $100,000 to $5 million for the Wildlife Protection Act.
Countries that have the highest or the best CPI scores have stronger environmental protections than countries that don't have very good scores on the CPI perception.
Of the 9 Caribbean English-speaking countries ranked, Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago and Guyana are at the bottom. Barbados, the Bahamas and St. Vincent came out on top. Globally, Denmark, Finland and Singapore are on top, with South Sudan, Somalia and Venezuela at the bottom. Andre Jebinson, CVM News.
Well, in light of recent allegations that funds were being misused in the Kingston and St. Andrew municipality, the mayor today addressed the matter at their monthly meeting. He also reiterated that he is open to any pending investigations. Trisha Gay Kelly has the details.
As some members of the Jamaica Labour Party continue to press for an investigation into the alleged misuse of funds within the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation KSEMC, Chairman of the corporation, Mayor Andrew Swaby, took time out of the council's monthly meeting to address the concerns. The mayor delved into the municipality's budget, listing how some $2.7 million was distributed to each division within the municipality.
With $1.5 million provided by the KSAMC and $1.2 from the Ministry of Local Government and Community Development. The mayor and the deputy mayor receive an additional $300,000 and $100,000 respectively from the ministry for their divisions.
Mayor Swaby then detailed how all monies were distributed to the divisions one by one. He explained how the money was also given to respective JLP members of Parliament, including local government minister Desmond McKenzie and Prime Minister Andrew Holness. Being a caretaker, some $700,000 was reallocated to the mayor, who said he used them within his division.
Given my fiduciary responsibility for these 3 divisions without councillor, I was trusted with managing these funds. While I was under no obligation to engage respective Jamaica Labour Party members of Parliament, I made a deliberate decision to do so in the interest of transparency and equitable.
The mayor further clarified that contrary to popular speculation, none of the municipality's money was used for political gain. The mayor reaffirmed his position on the matter, highlighting his support for integrity and transparency.
Today, I wish to reiterate my position on the matter. As chairman of the KSAMC, I welcome any anti-corruption investigation in this matter. I am pledging my support and cooperation toward assisting this process, that process if it happens. This stance is in keeping with my position of transparency, accountability, and good governance.
Trisha Gay Kelly, CVM News.
Now for an injection of health, the government's Health and Wellness Career Expo attracted thousands of job seekers recently, but skepticism remains over its effectiveness. While Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton hails the event as a success, the opposition argues it has done little to address the country's chronic nurses shortage. Ramon Gordon has the details.
A crowd of nearly 12,000 Jamaicans packed the University of the West Indies over 2 days. Students, professionals and job seekers, eager to explore careers in the health sector. The government says the event was a step toward bolstering Jamaica's struggling public healthcare workforce.
So the goal of the initiative was to increase the interest of the public in pursuit of careers in the healthcare field, thereby increasing the available professionals for public health service delivery.
But opposition MP Dr. Maurice Guy is questioning the impact of the fair, pointing out that despite Jamaica losing an average of 500 nurses per year since 2018, only 5 nurses were recruited through the event.
I would suggest that you don't equate the 500 nurses we lost over the last number of years with our attempt to recruit back those nurses, because clearly that doesn't make logical sense.
Dr. Guy also pressed the health minister for clarity on the actual job placements, asking whether many of these positions had already been advertised before the fair and why they remain unfilled. The opposition's latest inquiry comes amid online criticism of the fair, which has gone viral following this TikTok post. CVM News also caught up with a job seeker on day 1 of the event.
I didn't even see anybody to ask a question. Nobody was at the front to say, welcome and what are you doing today? Whatever, to even give me some information. I am so disappointed. I was just there saying I'm so embarrassed.
There are those who describe this effort as a grand waste of time. And I want to just put it in context that there is a rationale and by extension a justification for why this was necessary. Mr. Speaker, over the last 7 years, the issues affecting human resources for health have had a significant impact on health service delivery. These issues include, but is not limited to, the migration of staff from our health system, especially specialists in various areas.
7 doctors were recruited through the fair, along with a regional pharmacist, a medical physicist, and a physiotherapist for St. Thomas. Beyond recruitment, the fair also coincided with the visit of the Philippine Secretary of Health, leading to an agreement for faculty exchanges and specialist training. Ramon Gordon, for CVM News.
Now, a joint protest of the Nurses Association of Jamaica, the Jamaica Enrolled Nurses Association, and the Jamaica Midwives Association saw since Monday nursing professionals across Jamaica wearing full black to work. Courtney Lewis tells us more.
The nurses want to bring attention to the ongoing issue of outstanding payments, which they say has not been rectified despite numerous attempts for redress. They say without answers, they're left with no choice. 2 representatives joined us on CVM's News at Noon today to discuss the challenges they believe are in urgent need of attention. The Nurses Association of Jamaica, the NAJ, had given the Ministry of Health and the regional health authorities until 5 p.m. today to hear favorable news about outstanding payments. The strict deadline comes after nurses and midwives across Jamaica staged a blackout, committing to wear all black to work.
The Nurses Association of Jamaica had written to the 4 regional health authorities, as well as the University Hospital of the West Indies and the Bellevue Hospital. To date, we have only had responses from the Southeast Regional Health Authority and the Northeast Regional Health Authority. We have not had the courtesy of a reply, an acknowledgement, or any such thing from the other 4 areas.
They're waiting to hear on the status of their payments under the new public compensation scheme. They say funds have been delayed from as far back as August 2022. The nurses and midwives also want clarity on their overtime work policy and uniform tailoring compensation, which took effect in August 2024.
However, instructions that were received from the Ministry of Finance and were sent to the regions for the implementation and for our members to be paid this new rate up to date. Today, the 11th of February, our members are not being paid the appropriate rate that should be given to them as stipulated by the Ministry of Finance.
The delay has put a lull on service, affecting nurses in both their personal and professional lives.
Our staff are really disturbed to know that after working so hard, after making the sacrifices to fill the gap in the shortage of nurses, then we have to do this in order to get what we are supposed to get.
They feel their back is against the wall, and while there's no plan to walk off, they call for an address to issues affecting health personnel.
Training for nurses, retention of nursing personnel, infrastructure for nursing personnel, and of course our outstanding monies from the compensation review.
Courtney Lewis for CVM News.
We take a break. More CVM News at 7 in just a moment.
Whatever the crunch you want with KFC's popcorn chicken. Delicious, crispy, irresistible. Now available in hot and spicy. KFC, it's finger-licking good.
Mighty takes the baton this Wednesday. Your morning begins with some biblical love in Wednesday service. Then it's a lesson on the one-drop beat. Give me little one drop. Grab your Valentine. Bailey's has something sweet in store. And we'll wrap things up with the lyrical legend, Barrington Levy. Why Not Wednesdays, powered by Flow. You've never seen a sunrise quite like this.
We're the first in them brand when we get locked up. So yeah, cartel around gang and him a dance. No, a different thing me a deal with. We represent to get a youth from a distance.
It's supposed to hard to separate Vibes Cartel from just Daddy Do It.
Them separate me real quick.
Yeah.
Them bring me down right down to Daddy level. The influencer cartel bring someone
not
who try
to debate.
Them can't be
not up for debate.
Them are drinking.
The Cut. Brought to you by Flo and Rare Nephew.
Now I'm where I wanna be.
Welcome back to CVM News at 7. So the second installment of our lead story, Prime, starts tonight at 8 o'clock, and your host, George Davis, is here to tell us what's to come.
Yes, good evening. Thank you for giving me time in your show so quickly. This evening, we're dealing with the productivity costs associated with bad roads, the length of time it takes for deliveries to be made by the manufacturing companies or distribution companies, the length of time it takes you on the road when you could be at an interview, at your desk, doing productive things, the length of time it takes Jamaicans to commute, those who take the public transport to work, those who go to school. So we're looking at the productivity losses to the pothole issue to show that it's not just about a crater or a hole in the road. It's a whole chain of events that are sparked by the road infrastructure being suboptimal.
So who exactly ought, would you say, to tune in tonight?
Well, everyone, because especially for those people who say, yeah, there's a hole in the road and then patch it. And the road have holes for a long time. but they're just seeing the holes. We're bringing experts this evening to show you the knock-on effects of having bad road surfaces, especially bad road surfaces for an extended period of time, and bad road surfaces in or around busy commercial centers, the knock-on effect of that very thing, because there's a huge economic cost to spending time in traffic because the road is bad and people have to be treading carefully. So that's what we intend to show this evening, so everyone is welcome to watch.
You heard it, everyone?
Everyone.
All right. Thank you so much, George. So the St. Andrews South Criminal Investigations Branch, the CIB, has formally charged 38-year-old Imani Naya Lidner. So that's Imani Naya Lidner, an unemployed resident of Crescent Road in Kingston, for multiple serious offenses, including the murder of 14-year-old Prize Johnson. Now, this happened on February 6, 2025, a tragic incident indeed that unfolded at the home of Prize Johnson, a young girl who's a student whose life was cut short at the age of 14, as we just mentioned. The circumstances surrounding her death have led to significant public concern and media attention. Lidner has been identified as the primary suspect in the matter. Charges filed: Lidner faces multiple charges that include murder. The most serious charge against him is the murder of Prize. Now, housebreaking is another charge which relates to unlawful entry into the premises where the crime occurred. Wounding with intent. This charge stems from an attack on a male who attempted to assist Johnson during the incident. Lidner allegedly struck the person in the head while trying to flee. Now to this CVM News follow-up. Opposition leader Mark Golding is urging the Education Ministry to provide further grief support to the Haile Selassie High School. He made the call during a Tuesday morning visit to the school, where students and staff are mourning the loss of 14-year-old Prize Johnson, who was killed at her home last Thursday.
It has been nearly a week since the tragic passing of 14-year-old Price Johnson, who died shortly after being found critically wounded at her Palm Grove Court apartment on Spanish Town Road. But as her school community grieves, they also hold on to the cherished memories she left behind. Principal at Haile Selassie High School, Aniona Jones, remembers Johnson as a student with a vibrant spirit. She says her passing has deeply impacted the tight-knit school community. She says Price's last day at school was a fun one.
And we're very pleased that her last day at school was actually play day. She was teaching her teacher along with her classmates a popular TikTok dance routine. And that's the last video that we have of her. And probably that's why it's hitting us so hard, because our school population is small. We have just under 300 children on roll. That's the size of one class in many schools.
In response, the school has been receiving grief counseling, with the latest support coming from opposition leader Mark Golding and Member of Parliament Dr. Angela Brown-Burke, who visited the institution on Tuesday morning.
I think it's important that they get the necessary support to help them work through this so that it doesn't leave any unnecessary damage on their own psychology. And obviously grief is going to be very much present, but we don't want it to go beyond that with them, so they need that kind of support right now.
Praising the principal's leadership in guiding students through this difficult time, Golding urged the Ministry of Education to provide additional psychological support.
I would love to see some more support down here for the students who are grieving, our classmates and so on. I understand there was a psychologist who visited last Friday. Today is Tuesday. I don't think much happened yesterday or today. And this is the kind of thing that can really have an impact on the minds of young people.
Golding also condemned the circulation of disturbing images related to the incident, urging students not to participate in spreading such content.
If that comes on your phone, please don't send it on. Just delete it, because that's not right. Could be your mother or your sister or even you. And we don't want that kind of thing to be encouraged.
Meanwhile, police have confirmed that they are investigating the origin of the video. So far, one suspect has been apprehended as authorities continue their probe into the case. Shante McNeil, CVM News.
We take another break on CVM News at 7. We return in just a moment.
Do it for your best life. Go check your HIV status. So keep your life trending, no pretending. Me I tell yourself do it for you, do it for you. Every time you are link with a condom. Coulda husband, coulda wife, coulda be a random. Condom connect and protect your profile. Be your own fan, do it for your best life. Do it for your best life. Don't put yourself at risk. Condom connect every time. Do it for your best life.
Sports should be fun. Sports should be interesting. Sports should be entertaining. Sports should be riveting. This is CVM Sports. I'm Jordan Flint.
We're the first in them brand when we get locked up. So yeah, cartel around gang and him a dance. No, a different thing me a deal with. We represent we get a youth from a distance.
It's supposed to hard to separate Vibes Cartel from just Daddy Do It.
Them separate me real quick.
Yeah.
Them bring me down right down to Daddy level. The influencer cartel bring someone
Not
that
up
try
for
to
debate.
them can't be
Not up for debate.
Them are drinking.
The Cut. Brought to you by Flo and Rare Nephew.
Now I'm where I wanna be.
Thanks for staying with us. Time now for the business report. And as you'll hear, West Indies Petroleum Limited, WIP, a leading Caribbean energy company, has inked a landmark partnership with Sunoco LP.
West Indies Petroleum Limited (WIP) has signed a major deal with US-based energy giant Sunoco LP. The partnership is set to reshape Jamaica's marine fuel market and position the country as a key fueling hub in the Caribbean. Charles Chambers, CEO of WIP, says the deal is a strategic move to boost efficiency and improve service for vessels operating in the region.
Under our agreement, which took effect on January 1, Sunoco is now providing fuel, logistics, and finance for bunkering operations in Jamaica. This dramatically enhances our ability to serve vessels operating in Jamaican waters.
Chambers explains that increasing marine fuel transactions will strengthen Jamaica's role as a major hub in the sector.
Marine fuel transactions involve very large volumes and require significant credit capacity, both from suppliers and for customers. Sunoco's scale and financial strength now allows us to offer more competitive terms to vessel operators, potentially attracting ships that currently fuel at other ports. And so this is a significant industry development that further positions Jamaica to become a major marine fuel hub in the region.
WIP believes the collaboration will enhance operations and drive revenue growth.
We've been in the industry for a decade and have the largest fuel bunker capabilities in the country. We'll be leveraging our expertise, our local market knowledge, as well as our infrastructure, while we benefit from Sunoco's robust supply chain and credit capabilities. In fact, under this agreement, several of our current cost centers, such as vessel operations, will be transformed into revenue generators.
Chambers calls the deal a game-changer with long-term benefits for the economy,
potentially increasing port activity and related services here. We are therefore very excited about the future, especially given Jamaica's strategic location along several major shipping routes.
He says the agreement could attract foreign investment in port facilities, create jobs in the maritime sector, and boost related industries like logistics and transportation. Ramon Gordon for CVM Business.
Stay with us. There's more to come right after this break.
touch the ground, yeah. A KFC, what we're pulling up. Anything for the taste of a KFC, big deal. The time by KFC is
7:30.
Do it for your best life. Go check your HIV status. So keep your life trending, no pretending. Me, I tell yourself, do it for you, do it for you. Every time you are link with a condom. Coulda Ozzy, coulda wife, coulda be a random. Condom connect and protect your profile. Be your own fan. Do it for your best life. Do it for your best life. Don't put yourself at risk. Condom connect every time. Do it for your best life.
Mighty takes the baton this Wednesday. Your morning begins with some biblical love in Wednesday service. Then it's a lesson on the one-drop beat. Give me little one drop. Grab your Valentine. Bailey's has something sweet in store. And we'll wrap things up with the lyrical legend, Barrington Levy. Why Not Wednesdays, powered by Flow. You've never seen a sunrise quite like this.
Thanks for staying with us, and you're just in time to find out what's happening on social media.
So, what's trending in our local social media spaces? Yesterday, Prime Minister Andrew Holness released a statement saying, Jamaica is your homeland. You are not homeless. You are not stateless. If life abroad is tough, come back home. Bring your skills, bring your knowledge. Let's create the country we all deserve. But let me be real. If you return to break the law, expect to be dealt with firmly. Here are some of your reactions. At Jero King posts, love the message. Maybe you can set something up with the Ministry of Labor to help them get back into the workforce. At Zach Van Dyke asks, messages received, but what a lot of the LGBT diaspora wants to know is if we have a place back in Jamaica. Another commenter shares, not until now has there been such a suggestion. Large retiring demographic abroad looking to Jamaica to return with their pensions, but don't because of crime, corruption, poor governance, and infrastructure. At Jamaican Eye says, house too expensive, salary low, cost of food ridiculous. At JMCN Siden comments, life abroad tough but money more. People here can't even afford rent and they must come back to what? At Miss Petty Queen writes, but if I still come to Jamaica, where am I going to live if all my family lives in the US? Are you providing housing? At IRAME300 adds, this is beyond lovely. Nothing can replace the homeland. And that's what's trending online today. Continue to share your thoughts with us on X at CVM TV and CVM Television.